Hello and welcome to my action project presentation on EcoCamp and bridging the divide between people and the environment. We are going to go over nature deficit disorder and its implications, theoretical perspectives on nature deficit disorder, the benefit of addressing nature deficit disorder, and takeaways from EcoCamp that kind of tie into the theoretical perspectives discussed. And here's a little recap of nature deficit disorder. So it is the growing divide between humans and the environment. It affects people of all ages. My project focuses on children. It has arisen out of socioeconomic developments, that is, industrialization, urbanization, agricultural development. It's also arisen out of a limited emphasis on the outdoors in school curriculums and technological advancement. Children are engaging in digital rather than active and outdoor forms of play. And there are also safety concerns with parents not wanting their children to be outside and get hurt in any kind of way. Okay, and the implications of nature deficit disorder. I just realized my little human icon has disappeared. Just pretend there's a little human there where it says for humans. But yeah, so the implications, consequences for humans are poor social, physical, emotional, and cognitive outcomes. Implications for the environment amount to weakened ecological literacy and stewardship of the natural world. However, as discussed in my proposal, these consequences do not operate in isolation, as ecocentric philosophy highlights. Human and nature are interdependent, and the well being of nature also affects the well being of humans, and vice versa. So, in conceptualizing what has given rise to nature deficit disorder, we can consider how guiding worldviews regarding our relativeness to nature have shifted from indigenous to Western perspectives through colonization, and the mass erasure of indigenous ways of being. So, indigenous ontological perspectives, broadly, they're grounded in ecocentric philosophy, recognizing humans as part of the natural world and as one with other than human entities. But again, through the process of colonization and the mass erasure of indigenous ways of beings, um, now now the dominant worldview is Western, um, and it's rooted in anthropocentrism. It conceives humans and the natural world as ontologically separate or distinct entities, with humans superior to the natural world. I argue that the dominant Western ideological framework through which we conceptualize our relationship to nature, our relatedness to nature, this gives rise to environmental exploitation. And that is out of the ontological divide between humans and the natural world, has come a tendency to regard the environment as an abstract entity or a mere object. And through this objectification of the natural world comes its exploitation. As we've seen with humans, when a person or group of people are denied attributes that exemplify their humanness or goodness and are reduced down to parts or abstract ideas, their exploitation is justified. And similarly, our tendency to view nature as inferior or an object, an other, has given rise to its exploitation. And the way I see it is that perhaps if um, we can achieve environmental justice through a dominant ontological framework that personifies rather than objectifies the environment. This idea of personification will come into play when I discuss my EcoCamp experience later on in this presentation. So, why address nature deficit disorder? Well, given that research in the realm of environmental or eco-psychology has established that connection to nature fosters environmentally friendly behaviors, it's in the best interest of the environment that we bridge the divide between humans and the natural world. Particularly, I think it's important that we address nature deficit disorder in children as they constitute future world leaders. So it's integral for the future and the health of our environment that we restore connection and appreciation for it among young ones, as this fosters the desire to protect it. One measure that researchers in the field of environmental psychology have used to quantify individuals' connections to nature is the connectivity with nature scale. So, this scale measures individuals' senses of shared or common essence between the self, nature, and others. Dutcher et al. 2007 found that the connectivity with nature scale was significantly correlated with concerns for and the desire to protect the natural world. So it would seem that regarding the environment and its constituents as fundamentally the same as ourselves is key in treating it with care and respect. Granting the environment personhood, moving beyond abstract conceptions of the natural world. So, the following will highlight children's connectivity with nature, that is, perceptions of sameness between themselves and the natural world. And this will be done through providing a few examples of where they granted the environment personhood, that is, where they saw parallels between human and other than human life. But first, let's consider how EcoCamp leaders Jenna and Kelsey laid down the foundation for regarding the plants and animals of Stanley Park as entities that deserve care and respect. So, multiple ground rules were laid as they pertained to being mindful of interactions with the environment um, and they consisted of making sure that eco campers were handling plants and trees with care, disposing of waste properly, and being careful not to disturb wildlife. Importantly, Jenna and Kelsey urged eco campers to treat plants and wildlife with the care and respect they show one another, and and the care and respect that they show to those that matter to them. I think that laying down these ground rules was a great start to EcoCamp, as it had children thinking about the environment and its other than human constituents as worthy of the same care and respect that we owe one another. and beginning the EcoCamp experience with this in mind. Anthropomorphizing other than human entities at EcoCamp. So, here are a few instances in which children granted other than human entities personhood. Sailor's perspective. Sailor recognized kinship in the natural world, that other than human entities have ties to one another, just as humans do. While we headed down to Prospect Point picnic area for lunch, we passed by a family of geese, and she pointed to them, contemplating which was the mother and father to the babies. And she even pointed out to the other geese around, trying to identify who the grandparents were. Coco's perspective. So, Coco recognized that other than human entities possess the fundamental need for shelter and protection, just as humans do. During an ephemeral art activity where children were encouraged to create artwork with natural materials found in the park, Coco, myself, and a few other eco campers um, decided we were going to make a bug hut, which is pictured. And the bug hut is for was for roly poly bugs to live in. So as I was helping Coco collect sticks and branches for our bug hut, um, I asked if the branches were going to be used as decor, and she replied, no, they'll be used to insulate the hut and keep the roly polies warm and safe. And finally, we have Lynn's perspective. So, Lynn demonstrated an awareness of the life and death of other than human entities, as well as recognizing kinship and ties between them, as Sailor had. Um, when we were on our way to Beaver Lake for a critter dip activity, Lynn pointed out a dead earthworm on the pavement. He was saddened and asked if the worm's parents would be upset if they knew that the worm had died. These were all key moments where children exhibited connectivity with nature. That is, they saw other than human entities as fundamentally the same as humans in various regards. That is, recognizing kinship in the natural world, the need for shelter and protection among other than human entities, and life and death in the natural world. Although I can't be sure that eco campers will go on to respect and care for the natural world, or maintain a close relationship with it, it was nice to see them appreciate its intricacies and regard other than human entities as fundamentally the same as them. Perhaps if we all saw the natural world in human terms, we would be less inclined to inflict harm upon it. Thank you so much for listening.